Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the Charity in Action show. Today we'll be talking about the fantastic role human
Relief Foundation.
Human need sorry
Relief Foundation.
Human Relief Foundation. Human Relief Foundation was established by my very good brother Dr. Nabil Ramadani, and these four brothers and sisters who are with me today. So I will be discussing about their recent program that they have carried out in Bangladesh in order to address global poverty and also dealing with the refugee issues. So I will be talking to that. With me first is brother Faisal Uddin.
Yeah,
Welcome Faisal Uddin. Faisal Uddin is the community engagement manager of Human Relief, and next to him is Murad Kibriya. Welcome Murad, and our two sister councillor Lutfa Rahman. Welcome Lutfa, and Josna Begum. Others are all volunteers. So I just want to hear from you who is going to speak about the recent activities that you have carried out, and then we can get the audience know exactly what is happening. So the councillor is the politician. So you start. Tell us what you have been doing.
না আমরা বাংলাদেশে গেছি, আমরা অনেক ভিন্ন কাজে গেছি, শুধু এক চ্যারিটিতে আমরা সাহায্য করছি না। আমরা হিউম্যান রিলিফ ফাউন্ডেশন উপলক্ষে আমরা 9 জন লোক গেছিলাম। তারপরে 9 জন মাশাআল্লাহ, গুড। আমরা 9 জন ভিন্ন এলাকাতে কাজ করছি, বাংলাদেশের ঢাকা, নোয়াখালী, সিলেট, সুনামগঞ্জ ওই এরিয়াতে আমরা ভিন্ন প্রজেক্ট নিয়ে কাজ করছি। আমরা কক্সবাজারেও গেছি, চিটাগাঙ্গে গেছি। কক্সবাজারে আমরা যে রোহিঙ্গাদের যে গড় বানানো আর খাওয়ান, এরপরে তাদের যে একটা দিছি, আমরা মেশিনগুলা দিছি যে তারা যে নিজে আয় করে খাইতে পারে, যে বা নিজের পারিবারিক দিয়ে একটা খেয়াল নিতে পারে, নিজে আয় করতে পারে, ওইটা আমরা করছি। এরপরে অনেক ওপেন স্কুল মাদ্রাসা এগুলোতে আমরা সাহায্য করছি। ওপেনদের আমরা অনেক ফান্ডিং করা হয় HRF থেকে, আর তাদের যে খাওয়ানগুলো দেওয়া হচ্ছে ওরা আমরা একটু খেয়াল নিচ্ছি কি, তারপরে ওদেরকে ম্যাল নিউট্রিশন প্যাকেজগুলো দেওয়া হয়েছে খাওয়ানের, আর পারিবারিক খাওয়ানের ও প্যাকেজগুলো দেওয়া হয়েছে। আরও আমরা কোম্পানিগঞ্জে গিয়ে ওখানে আমরা ক্যাটারাক্ট সার্জারি করে ওইটাও আমরা ইয়ে করেছিলাম। 109 জন ক্যাটারাক্ট অপারেশন হয়েছে, আর অন্যদের অন্য বিভিন্ন ওষুধগুলা দেওয়া হয়েছিল, যেভাবে যে আই ড্রপ বা এগুলা। তো আমরা বোধহয় প্রায় 1000 মানুষের দেখা হয়েছে, চেক আপ হয়েছে, কিন্তু কোয়ালিফাই হয়েছেন 107 জন যার অপারেশন হয়েছে, সার্জারি ক্যাটারাক্ট অপারেশন হয়েছে। তো ওইগুলো কাজ নিয়ে করছি। আর আমরা বাংলাদেশেও জাস্ট রিসেন্টলি অনেক বন্যা হয়েছিল, বন্যাতে অনেকের গড় চলে গেছে, যে খাওয়ার নাই বা যা কিছু আছে তারা সব চলে গেছে। ওইগুলোতে আমরা কিছু সাহায্য করছি, তাদের খাওয়ান দিছি বা আমরা গড় মেরামত করে দিছি বা নতুন করে বিল করে দিছি, ওইগুলো।
আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, এক্সেলেন্ট। এটা তো খুব নোবেল কাজ, বাট সব এই কাজগুলো মোরলেস হচ্ছে অনেকটা রিঅ্যাক্টিভ। যেহেতু বন্যা হয়ে গেছে, অনেক লোক সাফার করতেছে, এখন আমরা তাদের পাশে দাঁড়াইছি, সেটা একটা। কিন্তু এই সাথে যে বন্যা হওয়ার যে কারণ, এটা কিন্তু দেয়ার আর কাপল অফ কি ফ্যাক্টরস। যেমন একটা হচ্ছে ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জের ঘটনাগুলো, ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে, তারপরে বায়োডাইভার্সিটি হচ্ছে, অনেকগুলা জিনিস এক্সটিংক্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছে। যেমন মনে করেন যে ফিশ যে আছে, আমরা মাছ খাই, সমুদ্র নদীতে মাছের স্টক গত 50 বছরে 70% কমে গেছে, মাত্র 30% আছে। তো মানুষের যে খাওয়া দাওয়া দেওয়া হবে, যে মাছ নাই। সো এই জাতীয় কাজগুলোতে হিউম্যান রিলিফ সিস্টার একটা বললেন যে ম্যাল নিউট্রিশনকে অ্যাড্রেস করার জন্য ওই ধরনের খাওয়া দাওয়া দেওয়া হয়েছে চিলড্রেনদের জন্য। তো আপনারা এই জাতীয় জিনিসের ব্যাপারে যে রুট কজগুলোকে অ্যাড্রেস করার জন্য কোনো পদক্ষেপ নিচ্ছেন কিনা?
We're in the process of looking at sustainable projects. So we were supposed to visit Baghat. It's a place where obviously it's a very fertile land. And one of the projects that we want to look at is looking at sustainable projects, meaning that we want to use all recycling stuff to build a place where people can live within that campus. At the same time, organic fishing, organic farming, and using raw material that people have in hand, so people can use that as well at the same time. At the same time, we want to develop the project where we save water rather than waste water. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to educate from the beginning now, rather than later. So obviously, to develop that project, it's going to be another 2, 3 years, 5 years project down the line. But we have to educate people why is these things are important first. And we looked at a few projects in Bangladesh. Alhamdulillah, there are quite a few projects in Bangladesh who already started this kind of projects. And like you're saying about the fishery, we want people to become self-employed by themselves as well.
Absolutely.
So we need to give them the tools, the means that they can start doing things like that for themselves. So these are the kind of things that self-sustainable projects that we'll be looking at in the future. This was a taster for us, because some of them went Bangladesh with HR for the first time. It was like a taster for them. So inshallah, they've seen it with their own eyes. So when they come back, we discuss a few things together. So we want to develop more projects. My brother here, he will tell you, he has a recycling factory in Bangladesh, in the UK. So we're going to be utilizing his knowledge a bit more. So obviously, in terms of recycled stuff, he will be the person that we'll be going to.
So this is
Murad
Kibriya. Tell me the story of, because this fits in very nicely with the Bangladesh national plan. So Bangladesh, if you will be surprised to know, 44.2% of the Bangladeshi people were living below the poverty line in 1991. They would not get more than $1.50 or 1.9 now, equivalent. 44.2%. In 2017, it gone down to 13.8. So economic activity has gone. But the main issue that you have hit the issue is that the food stability, food support is not there. I mean, nutritious food, because here in the morning you have Rice Krispies or cornflakes.
Yeah.
Do you know the Rice Krispies has got already fortified? It is not only the Rice Krispies alone. The vitamin shortage of the people overall, National Health prescribe that you fortify your product so that people get the natural vitamin that you need in your body. The government is so caring. So unfortunately, that level of sophistication will take time.
Of course.
So economic side Bangladesh is improved, but the food security paper, the program that you are taking on the fish has got a lot of protein.
Of course.
But Bangladeshi, so therefore, fantastic that you are trying to create fish stock inland, not depending on ocean fish,
That's right.
which is reducing.
Yes.
So I need to hear more about it, because this is the, I would call it a progressive step of an organization thinking ahead for what is needed. So you are going to introduce some recycling stuff. So let me hear from.
Currently, my father founded a company in the Midlands. We've opened a plastics reprocessing plant. So we buy used plastic bottles and reprocess them into flakes, which we then sell on, which gets turned back into a bottle. So a recycling company. And when I went out to Bangladesh recently, what I saw was tons and tons of plastic bottles on the floor, wasted.
Totally.
Enormous amounts. So then Faisal Bhai and the team at HRF started talking to me about this project. And then I said to them, well, I work in Medac.
Expertise,
we have a company that does similar along those lines. And what Faisal Bhai pointed out is very important. Giving food distribution, giving emergency appeals is obviously essential. It's definitely needed. But what I would say is more important is sustainable projects. To provide, how often are we going to go out and give food to someone? We can go as much as we can, but
Absolutely.
It's not feasible all the time.
It is not at all.
One of the main things is providing that person income or a job or a way to provide for themselves. So if we're not there, then inshallah they can provide for themselves. So inshallah we're still in the research stage, but inshallah we'd love to be able to do a project where we open a sorting station in Bangladesh where they're able to collect plastic bottles themselves. We take the bottles, we give them a good wage for the day based on how much they collected or something along those lines. There's a vast, the industry in plastics is very huge. There's so much we can do, so much potential to help the environment, help the people in Bangladesh and Nigeria and all around the world, and obviously for the economy of Bangladesh and the UK.
Fantastic. I have to come to Councillor Lutfa. And very interesting topics. You are a councillor in the local authority, and you have got better idea in terms of initiative with the local authority in recycling, waste disposal. This is a new new.
It is looked into right now, and it's happening in Bangladesh. They want to kind of resource it in a more natural way. So like solar power is quite prominent in Bangladesh,
Yes.
and it's becoming more prominent here. So, you know, that's alongside as well. And recycling, what Murad is doing, you know, plastic is a huge disastrous thing when it's in the ocean or in the
Absolutely.
sea. So how do we kind of minimize that? And it's very important
Absolutely.
that we minimize that for the environmental sake, and you know, and also, you know, instead of producing more plastic, recycling is the best process, best way to do it. And we need more companies like that, and especially in third world country, it will help develop the economy, and will also help develop with the recycling sector as well. So that's something that I think a lot of countries are looking into, and you know, Murad will probably
Will take the lead on it.
he can lead on it from HRF, and maybe other services can also link in with his company and with his father, and look at it how they can better do, or how can they can work in partnership, things like that.
Just now, when you were in Bangladesh, you walked around the town, city, like Dhaka city. Have you walked into the street and so?
I did. We did, as we were in group, we did see many plastics and in bags.
The waste in the whole city
I
dumping.
think the issue with Bangladesh and other poor countries is the sewage system is not that advanced like we have in this country. So this is another major issue. But one thing I would like to mention is even before going on to a deployment, we do a lot of work behind the scene in the UK.
Preparing.
So we do a lot of fundraising activities where a lot of people put the trust in us and they donate. So by going on a deployment, we then go there and we need to sort of like utilize the amount we've raised on good causes, and people want us to work on causes that are sustainable and consistency as well. So we
You see, one of the not frustration I've been observing. The people understand simplistic form, that you are feeding that many orphans, you are getting that many water tube oil, etc., etc. They want to see visibility, but the thing that Faisal you indicated, and also Murad indicated, in terms of looking ahead of it, and that is a two-way process. Preparing your donor base, educate them that sustainable solution is not a straightforward feeding them. Feeding, yes, of course you do, but a good amount of money needs to be like what Murad has done to set up waste disposal and recycling processes in various locations where you can create employment for the women and the men, etc. Needs investment. It needs a different kind of donors.
Of course.
So this charity in action is an opportunity for you to explain your long-term plan for Bangladesh or any other countries. You will be doing the food distribution for Ramadan, Qurbani. These are the natural process you're doing it. While you are doing it, at the same time educating the donors that something beyond is needed.
Of course, I mean, this is one of the things that we always look at. We look at impact. Okay, what impact would it have? Yes, we can feed them today, tomorrow, the next day.
Absolutely.
That's it, we're done. But what are we leaving behind? Like you said, we have to educate them. For us, it's all about creating the awareness to people for tomorrow, the future, and for the kids as well. And this is what we want to do. And this is the field. This is the reason, one of the reasons that we're in this field. That yes, via feeding people, well, we want to educate them. We want to educate our donors here as well in the UK. This is very important because they're giving the money, obviously putting a trust on us that we'll deliver what we said for them to deliver. Yes, alhamdulillah, we've done that. We'll continue doing that. But at the same time, we as a donor, we have to understand there's a bigger picture. The impact that will have health-wise, and like you were saying, in terms of sustainability. How would they how they survive in the future. If I'm not there tomorrow, money will run out, people will fed up of giving them, how will they survive tomorrow? So we'll have to look at the impact, how these people will survive tomorrow. Not for today, we'll have to look at tomorrow. And also looking at the younger generation, how do we educate them? It's about sitting down with them, having a chat with them, what is the importance of plastic? Why do we destroy it? Why do we chuck it on the floor? Why is it all the sewage, when you see it, is all about plastics? So people are not going into that level, and this is the step that we want to take, inshallah, going forward.
And that's not the only thing. Recycling isn't the only thing that's been done. Sustainability, we've done it in another way. যেমন আমরা মেশিন কিনে দিচ্ছি, একজন যদি মহিলা মেশিন ইউজ করে আয় করেন পরিবারের জন্য, বাচ্চারা স্কুলে যাইতে পারবো বা তারা পরিবারের জন্য খাওয়ান দিতে পারবো। আমরা we don't have to give it to them. We don't have to continuously provide them food. So they can now manage their family. So we provided those kind of projects
Yes,
as well.
And also clean water,
Income generation.
because clean water is very essential, because many of these children, especially the Rohingya, when we went to the Rohingya refugee camps, we could smell.
The
The
sewage.
smell was awful,
Yes.
but it was right next to the schools and people's homes. People, it was normal for them. It was normal for them.
Yeah.
But for us, it was a bit difficult. We had to wear a mask, so it was quite difficult. So water is essential. So that's where we come in. We put in deep water wells where it has many up to 5,000 people had access to clean water, and that will essentially save lives.
Yes, of course. Of
Many
course.
lives, and protect people from many health issues.
It's a deep water well that you have produced.
Yes.
Is far better. When the Rohingya crisis began, people were jumped into it and they put forward hundreds of tube wells. And within 6 months, 70% of them are obsolete because it clogged up.
Yeah.
So this is one of the worries that because if you do not educate the donors, tell them yes, one tube oil may cost £200, but you invest a bit more, a deep tube oil, whereby you can have a continuity for long term. And this is the mismatch, because people do not engage with their donors and explain the reality. And Bangladesh problem আছে আমাদের আর্সেনিকের উপরে। Arsenic, and if you know it very well, Faisal, I think it is a time for you to explain the donors, because they are watching you, that the arsenic issue and the water program that you are taking on. Explain that.
I'll try my best, inshallah.
And you are doing very well, mashallah. একটু বাংলা থোড়া সিলেটি মাথায়।
Okay. Arsenic water একটা কি গো obviously খাইলে খেতে করে গিয়া বুঝছনি, cuz ইগো কত ফুট নিচে যাওয়া লাগে টু গেট ওই পানিগো বার করতে হইলে। আর ডিপ ওয়েল গেলে এগো আপনি বহুত নিচে গেলা মরে দিয়ে গিয়া পানি তোলা লাগে আর কি বুঝছেন। আর আর্সেনিক যেটা একটা কতদিন বাদে গিয়া এটা দেশ আপনারা দেশ কিনা দেশও একটা খলসির মাঝে পানি তৈলে এগো দেখবা লাল হয়ে যায় গিয়া বুঝছেন, আয়রন হয়ে যায় গিয়া। সো ই পানি খাওয়া কি এগো আমরা লাগি বালা না, এগো ক্ষতিকর পানি। সো বাচ্চানটা তো তারা বুঝেন না তারা খার কি পানি ফাইছে খাইলার গিয়া, বাট আমরা বুঝাইতাম মানুষের যেন যেটুকু টিউবওয়েল দেই যেন আমরা না করে আমরা দিতাই না, বাট উই হ্যাভ টু থিঙ্ক অ্যাবাউট এগো দিলে এগো কয়দিন লাগে লাস্ট হইব। ইয়েস লাস্ট হইতে পারে 1 বছর 2 বছর বাদে উইল ক্লগড আপ, দেন এই পরে এগো পানি বাদ হয়ে গেছে, এগো আস্তা বেকার গেছে গিয়া। সো ইটস বেটার দ্যাট আমরা ডিপ ওয়েল করি বুঝছেন। এগো বহুত নিচে যাওয়া লাগে পানি আনতে হইলে, আর এগুর ব্যবহার করতে পারবো অনেক মানুষ করতে পারবো, কজ এখটার মাঝে 6-7টা ট্যাপও লাগানি যায় at the same time কানেকশন দিয়ে বুঝছেন। সো এগুর পানি একেবারে ক্লিন থাকে, খাওয়ার মাধ্যমে কোনো অসুবিধা হইতো না, হেলথর লাগে কোনো অসুবিধা না। বাট হিগু একটু প্রবলেমাটিক আছে, আনলেস আপনারা যেন the people as in Bangladesh who can go and test the water out, এটা করতে তো লোকাল lengthy process হয়ে যায় গিয়া বুঝছেন। সো এই lengthy process এর সময় নাই বুঝছেন।
You have to engage water engineers.
Yeah, of course.
Check the
quality of the water. Yeah. And every foot you go to, you still have to keep
absolutely,
on because I had that experience. So কত সময় বাদে তোরা পানি আনিয়া বাদে নিয়ে ঘুরে এক্সপেরিমেন্ট করো, তো এই রিজাল্টর লাগে বাড়ছাও, তো you go down again. So it's a very lengthy process. By the time you do that, you're better off doing a deep well. Yeah.
So this is the dilemma, because people would not understand. They're saying, okay, £200 is get a tube oil.
I think we were very lucky. We had the opportunity to be there when they were doing the water well, and all of us got involved, and we were able to film it, log it, and this is something that we can show our donors, talk to our donors about, so that they know the difference between a well and a deep water well.
Yes.
And we did few in Rohingyas, around
Yes.
Rohingya sites, and we managed to get feedback from the local villages, the mosques. People were giving us good feedback, and they were thankful that they could see the difference in the water quality as well, and it's
Yes,
made a
yes.
difference in their health.
I think
কক্সবাজারে আমরা কয়েকটা ডিপওয়েল করা হয়েছে,
আচ্ছা
তো ওইগুলাতে যখন দেখছে যারা পরিষ্কার পানি, আর যে টিপ হলে যে একটু নোংরা পানি আসে,
জি, জি,
যে
জি।
আয়রন মিশাইন থাকে, ওইগুলাতে তো
Absolutely,
অসুস্থ শরীর ফারায় বা
Yes.
নৌকো দাঁতও কালো করে দেয়। তো ওইগুলা দেখে মানুষ এখন অনেক পরিবর্তন হয়েছে, বাংলাদেশের লোক সব বুঝে এখন মোটামুটি টাকার লাগে একটু অভাবে কিছুটা আর কি ডিপওয়েলটা করতে পারে না, ওইটাই অতটুকুই। তো আমরা যদি আরো পারি সাহায্য, আমরা ডোনারদের আরো যদি সাহায্য নিতে পারি, তখন আমরা অনেক কিছু আরো ডিপওয়েল করতে পারবো। ওইটাই কি আমরা অনুরোধ যে আমাদের এক্সপেক্ট করেন না যে কোনো দেশে আছে যে 200 পাউন্ডে একটা ডিপওয়েল হয়, 200 পাউন্ডে হয় না, অনেক টাকা লাগে, 600-700 পাউন্ড লাগে একটা ডিপওয়েল হইতে, 250-60 ওইরকম মাইল নিচে যেমন লাগে যে একটা ভালো পানি, উন্নত পানি পাওয়ার লাগে। সো একটা আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ডিং আমাদের দরকার, সবের বোঝার দরকার যে আর সব এরিয়াতে কিন্তু পরিষ্কার পানি মিলে না, ভিন্ন জায়গায় অনেক জায়গায় ছিদ্র করতে হয়, কইরা ওয়াটার টেস্ট করতে হয় যে ওগুলো পানি ঠিক আছে কিনা, কোন জায়গায় ভালো আছে। এক জায়গায় যদি ভালো হয় ওখানে ডিপওয়েল করা হয়, অন্য জায়গায় পাইপ নিয়ে ওইগুলা নেওয়া যায়। তো ওইটা আমরাও করতে পারবো।
এক্সপ্লোর করতে
জি,
আই থিঙ্ক আমি আমাদের যারা অডিয়েন্স দেখতেছেন, আওয়ার ডোনার্স, দুইটা ইস্যু ব্রাদার ফাইসাল খুব সুন্দরভাবে বলছেন অ্যান্ড কাউন্সিলর লুৎফা এক্সপ্লেন করলো। সেটা হলো যে দে ক্যান সি দ্য কোয়ালিটিটিভ ডিফারেন্স। এক জায়গায় কক্সবাজারে যেখানে তারা অনেক ডিপে গিয়ে পানি বের করছে এবং কোয়ালিটি অফ দ্য ওয়াটার, অ্যান্ড দ্য পিপল, গরিব মানুষরা ওইটা খেয়ে ওরা দে আর হ্যাপি, দে ক্যান সি দ্য কোয়ালিটি হাউ বেস্ট মেজার্স। সেকেন্ডলি আরেকটা পয়েন্ট হচ্ছে বাগেরহাট, যেখানে ওনারা ফিশিং প্রজেক্ট করতেছেন, ওইটা আরেকটা প্রবলেম হলো যে ওখানকার এই 2007-এর সিডর সাইক্লোনের পরে ওখানকার স্যালাইন ওয়াটার ঢুকে গেছে ভিতরে ইনল্যান্ডে। সো ওয়েন ইউ ডিপ oil, even deep water oil, deep well, still you get saline, salty water.
Yeah.
So ওই এরিয়াতে আমার রিকমেন্ডেশন টু হিউম্যান রিলিফ that you try to do some rainwater harvesting.
That's the plan.
Rainwater harvesting যদি করা হয়, then you can actually in the monsoon time huge water, big tank করে যদি water reserve করা যায়, and then you can put the পাইপের মাধ্যমে ওইটা দিয়ে দেওয়া যাবে। So what we are talking about, that Human Relief Foundation is thinking innovative way for sustainable solution. So আপনারা you must trust this expertise, these sincere, genuine Bangladeshi leaders who are looking at a solution for Bangladesh, not a short term, for a longer term, so that to preserve the health of the community, preserve the looking after the population, etc. So I think we can even the program on food security, the United Nations said advice holo Bangladeshe je nutritionের অভাব, they want resilient agricultural practice. So resilient agricultural practice টা হচ্ছে, and you have already initiated like the inland fishing project. এটা হচ্ছে, this is quite far-sighted agricultural practice, কৃষি পদ্ধতি, এটা খুব ভালো। এটার সাথে আমাদের ল্যান্ড যে আছে, আমাদের জমির ভিতরে মাল্টিপল ক্রপটা হইতেছে, একবার আপনার ধান চাষ করলেন, ধান চাষ করার পরে আরেকটা জিনিস আনতে হবে in between. Those who are agricultural expert, they will know it. Rotation of crops.
যে একটা রুট ভেজিটেবল করতে হয়, তারপরে যে সয়েল ভেজিটেবল করতে হয়, ওইরকম বিভিন্ন জাতের তিনবারে পাক দিতে হয়, যে এটা করতে হয়। আর শুধু এগ্রিকালচার দিক দিয়ে না, আমরা বাচ্চারা যে এডুকেশন নিচ্ছে, তারা তো ভবিষ্যৎ, আমাদের ভবিষ্যৎ হচ্ছে তারা, বাচ্চারা। তো বাচ্চাদের যে আমরা সাহায্য করতেছি, অরফান বাচ্চাদের বা অন্যরা বাচ্চাদের যে এডুকেশন নিয়ে আমরা সাহায্য করছি, ওরা তো আয় করতে পারবে, যে জব করতে পারবে, টিচার করতে পারবে বা অন্য জায়গায় চাকরি নিতে পারবে। তো ওরাই তো নিজের ফ্যামিলিকে সাপোর্ট করতে পারবে, তো ওইটাও আরেকটা সাস্টেইনেবিলিটি। সো
আমরা এখন একটু ব্রেক নিতে হবে ইনশাআল্লাহ। উইল প্লিজ ডোন্ট গো, and we will be back within the next few minutes. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. We have got a new guest now, Brother Abdul Ahmed, who is an ambassador of Human Relief Foundation. So I was just debating whether we can give him the status of His Excellency, because Ambassador, High Commissioner status is this. Nevertheless, Abdul Ahmed, you have had good understanding and knowledge on the climate change, how it is affecting livelihood, etc. So if you kindly give us a touch So that when we engage with the rest of the people saying that how human relief's program is not sleeping of the changes.
I think Foysabai and Murad talked about the recycling program, which is very big. But we know Bangladesh has suffered the worst floods in its history. And why is that? We had floods in Pakistan, we've seen floods here in the UK. This is due to climate change.
Absolutely.
We know this is a huge factor. And the recent COP27 in Egypt,
Sharm el-Sheikh.
in Sharm el-Sheikh, we had a young Bengali leader from the UK presenting there about climate change, a Bangladeshi leader. Now, we have to take these individuals to Bangladesh and use their knowledge and experiences because they have the research, they have the knowledge. And we know with climate change, it's not just Bangladesh and Pakistan, it's a global issue.
Global phenomenon.
But how can we support those in Bangladesh who are at most risk? Because certain parts of Bangladesh, as we well know, is more subject to flooding than other parts, the highland and lowland. What can we do? The flood barriers, is that enough for people in Bangladesh? Because what you don't want to do, and first of all I was talking about, is put a program in place, spend £100,000 on a program, and then another flood comes and you find out it's not sustainable and it's broke through them barriers and it's broke through that. So what we're doing now is crucial in the research, and Murad talked about his expertise in the plastics. We've got other people who work in the climate change in terms of how the sea level's rising and the temperatures and so on and so forth. So we're using all of that information is what we're going to be trying to do in Bangladesh, is to come up with a project. And Foysabai spoke just briefly about the water project, where we recycle the water and the rainwater that will come. That in itself is a huge project because these filtration systems, they're not cheap. And especially in Bangladesh, to have a filtration system, you're talking, it's a very expensive piece of machinery. So you don't want to just dive in, like you said, in the Rohingya camp. People at the beginning, they gave water wells, and 70% of it, it got locked up. So we don't want that similar situation. We want to make sure those who are donating their money, their hard-earned money, that is going to a purpose that is going to be long-term, longevity. And this is something I think Human Relief Foundation is very good at doing and looking at to the foresight. So we're looking at a 5-year plan. And we have to use what's in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has so much natural resources. Sometimes we don't use it to our own purposes. Sometimes the people of Bangladesh don't use it. They don't realize what they've got. It's about education. It's about awareness. And part of the work that Foysabai was talking about, Murad, is about educating and making those who live in Bangladesh more aware of simple, good habits. Not throwing the plastics in the water. Try not using plastic carrier bags. Make little changes, habits. The habits are very hard to change. But slowly over time, you have to make that happen, because if you don't, then we're going to see floods upon floods in Bangladesh. And no matter how much fundraising program we do, the people are going to suffer. Maybe not every year, but every decade or so, we're going to have to face the same issues, and that's not what we want.
I think it is music to my ear that you are looking at the long-term sustainability in Bangladesh, because a good part of Bangladesh will be underwater in another 30 to 50 years down the line, but new land is coming up, like new island is coming up, because it's estimated that approximately 20,000 square kilometer of land. Some of the land is already, there are a couple of inches water there, so it is coming up because of the, what do you call it, this erosion of river, this sands going there and building it up. So looking at that flood mitigation, that the flood will be coming in because of the climate change, and therefore adapting the livelihood accordingly. Because in mitigating the climate change, it's a big issue. The government is doing that. I just came back from Montreal, where the UN Biodiversity Conference took place for 2 weeks, and the government level, they have negotiated a deal where Bangladesh will also be receiving grant in order to do some activities whereby to reverse it. Or even if you don't reverse it, you can stop the further deterioration on the biodiversity, which has got the climate change effect, is all interlinked. And many NGOs, with my sadness, do not look at the bigger picture. They look at only the picture that you can see. Oh, flood, people are hungry, feed them. But do not go back one step. So it is a good news for me to talk to the audience that Human Relief Foundation is attempting to address those long-term issues.
I mean, this, as you said quite rightly, this is not just for Bangladesh, it's a world topic at the
Yes.
moment. More so for Bangladesh because of the flood risk is so high. We went to Shunamganj. We had to take a speedboat there because the water hadn't receded from the floods. And these people...
From Haur area. I was born in Sylhet.
So things like this is like the people there now just on the island. They can't come off without a boat. Their land that they use for farming and agriculture is gone. It's underwater.
Underwater now.
So what do these people do? How do they live? How do they sustain themselves? How do they eat? This was everything they had. There's no cattle. There's nothing for them there. But you know, Human Relief Foundation, when we were there, we saw concrete houses being built, which if the flood did come again, it won't knock it down because they're solid, built, concrete structures. And this is what is needed for the longevity of people's life and to improve them. Because once they have a home, once they have a base, they can move on and they can build from there.
Faisal, I think you elaborate on the housing program because people think so many Sylheti people are in UK or overseas. Sylhet is a prosperous place. But there are several pockets of severe deprivation in Sylhet. I have seen it myself in my own eyes. So your attempt to address poverty in Shunamganj, Haur area, please tell us about the housing program that you have so that the audience.
I mean, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, আমি যে জায়গাটা গেছিলাম এই জায়গাটার নাম হলো কি তাহেরপুর মধ্যনগর এক্সাক্ট জায়গার নাম কি তো এখানে যাইতে হইলে আধা গাড়ি দিয়ে যাওয়া লাগে আর আধা আওরে দিয়ে গিয়া বোট দিয়ে যাওয়া লাগে আর কি বুঝছেন সো এখানেও আমরা কয়েক বছর আগে আমরা শহীদ ভাই যে আমরা লোকের সাথে আছেন তাই এখন উমরাত গেছেন তাই গেছিলাম ওখানে তার লগে মিটিং করছিলাম যেটুকু মিটিং করছেন গরর ভিতরে ফানি আসেন তারা ও গরব বইয়া চকিত বইয়া তারা মিটিং করে রাখে বুঝছেন সওলান অবস্থা আছেন তারা তো আমরা ব্যাক দেন একটা যেন উদ্যোগ নিলাম যেন তারা লাগে আমরা একটা কিচ্ছু করতে হইলে তো এখানে তো ফানির সমস্যা এখন ড্রিঙ্কিং পানির সমস্যা তারা তার জন্য খেত করে না তারা খাইতে পারে না
আমি এখন এই সময় যে একজন মানুষ মারা গেলে যে তারা মাটি দিবার জায়গা নাই
খবর দেবার
জায়গা আমরা আমরা সময় গেছিলাম যে সিচুয়েশন একজন মুরব্বী মানুষ তার সরকার তো আসলা সো খুব চিন্তা করা হয়েছে যে যদি আজকে মারা যায় দেখে তা হবা কিন্তু কোনো জায়গা নাই ওটারও অ্যাক্সেস নাই few days লাগবো যে তাই বডি অন্যখানে গিয়া মাটি দিতে সো দ্যাটস অল আ সিরিয়াস সিচুয়েশন আছে
ওটা কিটা হইছে শেষ পর্যন্ত
হইছে কিটা তাই না আমরা যে সময় লিভ হইছি মোর বেইন মারা গেছে
আচ্ছা
বা 90 উপরে আসলা ভেরি এল্ডারলি আসলা বাদে তান্ডে বোট আর বোট না তান্ডে আরো 3 ভিলেজ বাদে নিয়া মাটি দেওয়া হইছে যে যেখানে যে থোড়া মাটির জায়গা আছে the situation was আরো worse আছিল because তান্ডে হইছে যে ইভেন যদি ওখানে ফানি উঠে যায় যে তান্ডে তাদের গামারি রাখা লাগবো like they have to stab her through her chest and keep her on the mati like on the mud and that was happening at that time
disrespecting
yes that's what they had to do
you see I think this is the type of matter Faisal the audience donors do not know severity of the problem so housing program take to khani
so meeting করার বাদে আমরা একটা উদ্যোগ নিলাম যেন তারারে আমরা ও আইল্যান্ডের ইটস লাইক এ ছোট একটা আইল্যান্ডের মধ্যে কি তো তারা ঘর বানাই দিতে হইতো তো এখানে সর্বমোট 22 জন ফ্যামিলি থাকেন তো 22টা ঘর দরকার তো এখানে তো ফলে আমরা মাটি বরানি লাগছে বা কাহায় করা লাগছে সো পানি উঠতো না করিয়া বুঝছেন উঠতো না করিয়া তারপরে
এটাকে ব্লক করা হয়েছে
যে বাউন্ডারি লাগানো কি বুঝছেন দিয়া তারপরে হাই রাইজ করিয়া এগুলো ওখানের মাত্র আমরা কংক্রিট ঘর বানানো হয়েছে 3 দিনে কংক্রিট আর কি ফাউন্ডেশন তলে হারাইয়া পাক্কা ঘর যে বানাই দেওয়া হয়েছে সো অ্যাট দ্য সেম টাইম 22টা ঘর তারপরে একটা মসজিদ আর একটা স্কুল বলাম পর্যন্ত তারা মাত হয়েছে যেন তোমরা খিতা দরকার বুঝছেন বাচ্চান তোর ফড়াইতে নাস মসজিদ দরকার তারা হচ্ছে আমরা দুইটা দরকার ওইলে আমরা মসজিদ দিলা বাচ্চান তোর আমরা ফড়াইতাম পারতাম নাই কজ আমরা গেছে জিও নাই আমরা গেছে
কিছু
ফয়সা নাই যেন আমরা চালাইতাম বাট আল্লাহর কাছে দোয়া করবো আমরা অ্যাটলিস্ট আমরা নামাজ পড়তাম ফরম বাচ্চান নামাজ পড়তাম বাট আমরা কইছি ওকে আমরা দুইটা দিলাইমো বুঝছেন না সো আলহামদুলিল্লাহ দিস টাইম যেটুকু গেছি সো আমি 3 বার গেছিলাম এই জায়গার মাঝে আলহামদুলিল্লাহ এখন গিয়া একটু শান্তি পাইছি ফুলফিল হয়েছে যেন আমরা আশাটা গড় অকল বাক্কা বানানি হয়ে গেছে ফুরা হইতাম ফাটাম কয়টা দেখে আইছি গড় মসজিদটা আস্তা বানানি হয়ে গেছে তারপরে মাদ্রাসাও আস্তা বানানি গেছে আর ডিপ ওয়েল একটা আস্থা তোলা হয়েছে কেন বুঝছেন
তো আই থিঙ্ক অডিয়েন্স এটা দেখেন একটা চমৎকার ইনিশিয়েটিভ ব্রাদার ফয়সাল এক্সপ্লেইন যে ওই ফ্লাড এফেক্টেড এরিয়াতে কনক্রিট বিল্ডিংগুলো করা হলো তাদের এডুকেশনের জন্য মাদ্রাসা স্কুল এবং 22টা ঘর করা হলো এখন যেটা বাকি আছে সেটা হলো তাদের লাইভলিহুড প্রোগ্রাম তো এখানে তো আমাদের আবদাল জানালো যে ওখানে তো কোনো ক্যাটল রাখা যাচ্ছে না ক্যাটল রাখবেন কোথায় আপনি সো আই ডোন্ট নো আবদাল ওদের in since it is water bound is there any fishing program possible
There is. They do fishing. That's their main living, their income. So তারা চিংড়ি মাছ যে করে আমি অনেক বোতল দেখছি তারপরে জিজ্ঞেস করছি যে ওটা কি জন্য কিসের জন্য চিংড়ি মাছ করে এরপরে অন্য মাছ যে করে ওটা দিয়ে বিক্রি করে কিছু আর নিজেও খায়
আচ্ছা ওইটা করা হইতেছে ওইটার ব্যাপারে বোধহয় something you need to start looking at it because you have given them the houses given them the school and masjid now some assistance in terms of livelihood
So
they grow vegetables as well.
কোথায় vegetable কোথায় করে
They grow a lot of vegetables.
roofs.
So khodu,
Roof
on
it.
the roofs.
তারা গড়ের
fantastic so resilient people
Yes.
this is what Abdul was saying in Bangladesh people don't realize the skills that they have the knowledge that they have
and the determination
they have there's you know as people say there's a will there's a way
And nothing is impossible in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
You know, you come with one idea and you might think, oh, it's not going to work. But you go to someone, they would make sure it's happened. And not just make it happen, but happen to a very good standard, high standard. And even in the Rohingya camps, you're talking about the houses, on the roof, there's space for people to grow vegetation. The houses that have been built, purposely built with, you know, they call the sat on the roof, like this, so they can grow. Because there's no space on the ground. You know, the houses are, like me and Faisal by saying, the houses are this close to each other. So there's no space in the ground to do vegetation. So
I have seen in Bangladesh that double decker types like a berat tulia দুই তিনটা লেভেলে ফার্মিং হচ্ছে I don't know whether you have
আর বাংলাদেশের সল হচ্ছে অনেক রিচ
অনেক রিচ
অনেক রিচ না স্পেশালি আমাদের সিলেটে বা সুনামগঞ্জ এরিয়াতে যেহেতু হাওড় এরিয়াতে সয়েলগুলো অনেক ভালো থাকে তো ফসল হচ্ছে অনেক বন্যার পরে অনেক ফসল হচ্ছে আমি বাংলাদেশ থেকে রোববারে আসলাম অনেক দান হয়েছে চাষিরা খুব খুশি যে তারা খুব
যেখানে ল্যান্ড আছে সেখানে হয়েছে
যে ল্যান্ড আছে তো সব জায়গায় এখন তো বন্যা চলে গেছে
আচ্ছা এখন ক্রপ হইতেছে
অনেক ক্রপ হইতেছে সবের অনেক ক্রপ হইতেছে তো ইনশাআল্লাহ আরো আশা যে ওইরকম আমরা যদি ওইরকম প্রজেক্ট করে নেই
I think this is also a very good integrated 22 is a manageable size so এরকম যদি এক্সাম্পল সেট করা যায় then other charities can learn from your experience.
Well, not only that, we've got a huge project in the Rohingya camp. We already built over 4,500 shelters home. And these are all government approved, government designed. Right. So there's no middleman. So
this is the IDB funded one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. And then obviously with those ones, they come with fire extinguisher, they come with solar panel. So again, we're looking at sustainable project, looking at the future, not waste things. So, and they're also done by, so that we employ people, so the Rohingyas got the job. So some people are in Saat banai bala gitar bed dikit bash hol dia job banai sator jo sala hol banai. So tara lage khamo dewar buchni. So ek masha hoy na ek guli di shikar kora jay butta. So amra that's how we trying to do as well. Ek guli di shikar kortan so eram bahut jinish hola ki.
You know, on the housing, I was just sitting here remembering, and Murad was here. We went to Gwaingat, wasn't it?
Yeah. Right.
Another one of the most affected parts of the floods, when the floods came to Bangladesh. And even when we went there, the soil was very still slippery. We had to go through, you know, mud to get to the houses. And we went to a family's home, and this family, their home is made out of bamboo. And you know, you get it's not wall. It's like a
It's
sheet.
mud house.
It's a mud house. In this house, there was a mum, dad, and 3 children, a toddler, and 2 young boys and girl. And then one side of the house was made out of, you know, the cement paper we get, the thicker paper which holds the cement.
Yes,
This was what the wall of their house.
Really?
Yes, one side of it. And this is where they were sleeping. And now they have one bed. All 6 members of the family were sleeping on this bed. And next to them, believe it or not, they had their cattle inside their dormitory, their space. And they have to sleep like this.
Was it in Sylhet?
This was in Gwaingat.
Just a little.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you can imagine the health risk of having a cow sleeping next to your children and the risk of that. But not only that, the house was so small. There's no movement, there's no nothing. Everything they owned, that family, was on a washing line across the room. Everything they owned, and they had a little stove, solar at the bottom there, and that was it.
And I think that this is the same situation in most of the Rohingya huts that we visited.
And I think what Faisal was saying about the houses in the Rohingya camp, where they've been approved, they've got decent sizes. So people will have some dignity, they will have some pride in their living space. They can have the privacy.
There's partitions within the
within the room.
huts.
And this is because of the UN is fair standard, so you have to make the houses within the same.
Kitchen,
that
bedroom with
project
the
of us in
partitions.
Rohingya, the shelters, has been very successful, and we obviously were the space. And
Has the project completed now?
no, it's an ongoing.
It's continuing.
It's going. I think you probably know better than I do. I think the government is not looking at any short-term project anymore. They're looking at medium and long-term project, because these are people are not going to go anywhere, and they're trying to put them in another island, but a lot of people are refusing to go to the other island, so they're going to stay there.
The problem with the Rohingya camps is, we previously went before the lockdown, is the situation in the camp seems worse than when we went before lockdown. It just seems more compacted, more polluted. The sanitation is worse than, you know, in certain parts in Ukiah, is it what you went to? So these types of houses, it'll give people their dignity back. It'll give them some pride. And Afa was saying over there about giving sewing machines to ladies who have taken it.
Is it government is allowing?
With permission, with consent, we can go in and then give the
For the livelihood?
Yeah.
within the camp.
No, within the camp, government has allowed it now.
Yes,
Because
within the
there were
camp.
restriction.
Yeah.
There are still restrictions, but you as an NGO, you have to seek permission from the local authority
course,
over
of
there. Then you can go and do what you need to do.
The seeking permission part is very strict in Bangladesh,
Yes.
as we found out when we went there. You know, even on the day we were going to get turned away,
Even though we had permission.
even though we had permission. So things can change in Bangladesh within the minute.
Are you doing anything on Vashan Chor? The Rohingyas relocated around 100.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I think the government is not letting any NGOs go
No,
there at the moment.
Or even the
Maybe.
Rohingyans to go out of the
No,
commission.
Bhasan Chor, another island.
Another island,
Yeah.
yeah.
That-
Because a
we
lot of
haven't
them
been.
are refusing to go as a
Yes,
member.
yes,
They don't want to go. So some are over there.
Yes.
I think maybe selected NGOs have been allocated to go and work over there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. That your house building and those houses that you have built in Rohingya camps, people already moved in.
Yes.
Yes.
So as soon as they're done, there's a waiting
Straight
list.
away.
So in terms of your sewing machine were distributed in those households.
We kind of took a list of people and we
Yeah.
didn't go individually to individual houses. We called them up and they came to a collection point.
Right.
And the list was made prior to us going there. So they
Yes.
collected it.
So Alhamdulillah, so you have a good formidable program in Bangladesh. It appears to me that Alhamdulillah you are doing good job for the Rohingya refugee camps as well as addressing the poverty in Sylhet. Can you like to Faisal tell us so that in other countries that you are doing it, so that people can get an overview?
Now, of course, obviously HRF is based worldwide, especially in Yemen, Jordan, Iraq, Syria. Those are the countries. Ghana. Sorry, we're also building a maternity clinic over there in Ghana. Just now we'll talk about it in a minute. Pakistan. It's worldwide. So internationally we're based everywhere.
Alhamdulillah. So I think you want to talk about Ghana. Ghana specialist.
I'll explain a little bit. We're doing the Marrakesh Marathon and in aid to support.
Marrakesh
we're
is
doing
Morocco.
Yeah, we're doing a marathon
They're doing a marathon to raise the
Fundraising.
money for a
Fundraising
project in
event
Ghana.
in January
Yeah.
to fundraise for a clinic in Ghana. The story behind the clinic is very emotional and is related to our brother who's in Umrah now, Khoiro Shahid. I think he was in Ghana for another project to build a mosque, where they built a mosque. And on his last day, when he was leaving Ghana, he missed his flight. And I think he was going back because he had to reschedule his flight. And when he went there to this particular village, he bumped into two pregnant women. They were there, they were heavily pregnant, and they were like just sitting around waiting to die, basically,
Allahu Akbar.
because once a month they have health workers that come. And for these women, they thought, because obviously the nearest clinic was hours and hours away, so they thought, as a last resort, maybe if they come here, maybe someone can help them, but there was no one there. So when he asked one of the leaders there, I think from the mosque, and he said, oh, they come here hoping that someone from their outreach workers there, and then many die here. So, and I think he came back, it affected him because his wife
Of
was
course.
pregnant at the time. And also he came back and, he was talking to the volunteers, and we were very touched by the story, and we wanted to do something, as a woman too, we wanted to do something, and we started sort of like fundraise. We started a fundraising to fundraise for a clinic, for a women's clinic. The more research we did into that project was a simple injection could save a life, or if these women had a checkup before, before the complication, or had
Before
themselves
childbirth.
checked. So could save not only their lives, the baby's lives as well.
Yes.
So it's very important that we set up or
A clinic
open a
nearby.
women's clinic there, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So point is the clinic is too far for them to travel. There's no form of travel there, and
Yes.
people die quite regularly on at childbirth. So that's the reason why
No, that's a very,
it's quite risky.
thoughtful initiative.
Yeah.
You see, a lot of women dies because not only the in unavailability of hospital or clinic.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is the transport is weak,
Yeah.
and the basic knowledge of how to
Knowledge
deal
also,
that is not
knowledge.
there. So you are addressing the maternal health issue in Ghana. Ghana is one of those countries with high maternal mortality. So these are good. So
But this will also not be only a clinic. They will also train local people what to
Yes.
do. Like first aid is very important.
Midwifery
And
training
midwifery
will
training
be
is-
provided.
yes, I mean I call it that there are in Africa mainly there are the traditional birth attendants TBA.
Yeah.
আমরা বাংলাদেশে বলি কি ধাই দাই
দাই,
দাই
দাই।
বলি না হ্যাঁ সো ওদেরকে যদি একটু এডুকেট করা যায় এবং কিছু টুলস দিয়ে দেওয়া যায় then they can actually save some lot of lives. But good thing is that Human Relief Foundation is not only looking at the livelihood of people or water sanitation, they are also looking at the health. And within the health program, this Accra examples, not Accra, I mean within Ghana. I don't know which
Tamale,
part.
northern Ghana.
Northern, I see it, Kumarsi or something like that.
Yeah, it's past Tamale in that way.
Yes. So that's a very good initiative. So today, Alhamdulillah, we have had a good discussions with regard to Human Relief Foundation and their innovative work. And what struck me most is that they're thinking ahead of time, and you have to be patient to educate your donor, educate the beneficiary, and continue the good work that you're going on. World is changing, the earth is changing, climate change and the environmental shift made everything very challenging. And I'm glad to see that Human Relief Foundation has taken a courageous step towards that end. So allow me to thank Brother Faisal, Brother Councillor Lutfa, Sister Josna, and Abdul Ahmed, the Ambassador, Your Excellency. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.
Islam.